Okay, so a little bit about me. Like Travis and Sandra, I'm also an agile coach. I don't usually say a lot about me. I've got like few certs, but it's not really important. If you really want to find out, you can go to LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn username is Paulo-Dias-UK because I'm based in UK. So I'm actually originally from Portugal. I've been here for 25 years. My accent is still very much Portuguese accent. And, just a few words. I'm really excited to be here today with you guys. And actually making this session a little bit a different type of session where it's not going to be a monologue, I'm afraid. So I'd like you guys to be as interactive as possible. Ask me questions, try to bring up your experiences, your own understanding of the concepts and things that we're going to talk about, and make it as interactive as possible. So having said that, I've got a mentee as well, and basically it's about understanding what brings you here today. So what is it that you want to achieve from this session today, given the topic? So what's interesting about that topic? And if you can, 2 words max. So I think it's open, so you can just go to that mentee. Let's see what comes up.
Do you mind sharing the code again, please?
It's over there. I'm sharing the code 7380.
Oh, there it is. Thank you.
There you go. Apply business agility. Yep. Yeah. Outcomes. Value different perspectives. I like that. Apply business agility. Business agility startup. Interesting. Startup as a way of applying business agility. What else? Best practices. Learn something new. Yeah, we're all going to learn something new with the experience that you're going to bring together to this session. New thinking, best practices. All right. Okay, I think we've got enough. So having said that, what is it that we need from each other? So let's create a kind of a training alliance or session alliance, I would say, our alliance. And what do we need from each other in this session to make this successful? And some of the examples of words I'm looking for is actually, presence, support, respect, right to pass. Everyone is entitled to an opinion. No right or wrong answers. No stupid answers. No stupid questions, because no question is ever going to be stupid. So we respect each other. So what is it that you want to kind of agree as our alliance? I'm going to share the thing again. Now I lost it. 1 second. Wrong one. Apologies. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, I just started. So please, if you don't mind. Support. Yep. Transparency, collaboration, dialogue, different ideas, sharing experiences. Yes, and oh, I like that. Yes, and rather than no buts. Yeah, so yes, and I really like that. No judgment, really important as well. Yeah. So we all come from different experiences. Every experience that you want to bring along, it will be welcome. And we will not be judging anyone. Listening and patience. Great. I'm happy. I think we've got an alliance established. And also, with regards to participation, feel free to participate and to contribute to everyone else's learning. Okay, let's stop this for now. Let's just take this out. Okay, so the first slide that I'd like to show you is the agenda. And so we're going to have an overview of business agility. What is business agility as we understand? The different opinions from different people, and what I think is a good definition of business agility. And I'd like to hear your feedback as well about that. Business value, we're going to make a distinction between outputs, outcomes, and impact. We're going to introduce the improvement kata based on the Toyota kata. Outcome hypothesis, so looking into outcomes as hypothesis and using OKRs based on O as an outcome, not as objective, but outcome and key results. And then we're looking into, my work as pivoting from projects into products, and what are the challenges that we find, what are the things that you can focus when you move away from projects into products. And then, of course, the linking strategy to execution. What is this strategy to execution link, and why is it so important? And finally, leading and lagging indicators. Any questions so far? Do you all agree with this agenda? Are we okay? Good. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So the first question, I also, Sandra, I'm not actually monitoring the chat. If there is anything on the chat that requires my attention, please feel free to stop me, and we'll address that. So if I introduce, many of us have seen this type of things many times. Company ABC list of priorities or main priorities for ABC. The question I'd like to ask is, what is actually odd about these ABC priorities? So improve ways of working with broader business, undertake more initiatives to closely match customer expectations, change processes to better enable the broader business goals, and build a systematic approach to assessing and aligning risks with security. So they all look good. What do you guys actually think about this? And feel free to answer on Menti as well. And I'm going to prepare Menti. Yeah, it's ready. Vague. Let me put it here. Generic. No clear objectives. Not smart. Excellent. This is what I wanted someone to pick up on. It's not time bound. It's not, achievable or measurable main thing, specific. Yeah. Anything else? No clear objectives. I like that. And most of them are vague or too generic. Vague twice. And yes, I think mostly that's the problem. They are not they're not specific enough. They're not measurable, and they are ambiguous, not customer centric. Someone just put, yeah. And I kind of agree with all of that. And we can talk for hours and try to change this. And the other problem that I see as well, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, is that in many cases, these are not co-created by the organization or by the teams from the company. And so they are not actually, or maybe they are co-created, but they're not actually discussed in a level that everyone understands and everyone is aligned about what that actually means. And because they are not co-created or they're not discussed enough, there is no alignment. There is no common understanding or collective wisdom about it. And therefore, the strategy is created, but the ground work that gets delivered by the teams is not actually linked to that strategy. So there's a missing link between the work that the teams are working on and what the strategy is all about. And if this is the strategy is so ambiguous that no one really knows how to achieve that, when to achieve, what do we need to do in order to improve ways of working with broader business? What's that about? You know, someone could ask. It's very vague. Okay, so next slide. Got a small screen here. So this is not to be answered, but I just shared a. Does anyone know what VUCA actually mean? Anyone? And you can unmute yourselves. So VUCA as in VUCA. Anyone? Any ideas? Yep. Go on,
Yeah,
Victoria.
it's volatile, uncertain. I like to use chaotic, but I think the other word for it is in the
Chaotic will
last.
work.
Yeah, chaotic to me fits better, and then ambiguous is the last one.
Yeah, it's a complexity for C, but chaotic.
Complexity, yeah,
I like
chaotic
chaotic
fits
as well.
better.
Yeah, because we are living in a chaotic world, aren't we? So yeah, but that's absolutely correct. So volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguous. That's the world we're living in at the moment. You know, with all these natural disasters, with you know, with the president that some of us have, and with you know, with things changing so fast at so fast rates, um, natural disasters, COVID, I don't know. I mean, so many things are happening today. No one really knows what's going to happen tomorrow. Who is going to survive? Am I going to get a job? Am I going to be able to keep my job? You know, is a vaccine going to be ready by December or by January or whatever it is? So it's what VUCA actually means is all that and a lot more. And so what we've got is the need to accelerate speed of change in unstable markets. Uncertainty is about having uncertain outcomes. We're really not sure about it. And we can't do any long-term plans because we don't know who is going to survive, what's going to change, what the competition is going to come up with, and so on. So there is no clear cause or an effect. There's complete lack of predictability. And in terms of ambiguity, we've got conflicting information and unknown unknowns. So this is a perfect world for business agility. And that's why, you know, some people actually define business agility using the terms that we're going to see a little bit later. We've got a famous statement from Jack Walsh. If the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside, the end is near. And this is so true for so many companies, like, for example, these ones that are all written. You know, we all know what happened to them. You know, Kodak, typical, stuck to their guns and refused to go digital. Polaroid, the same. Blockbuster stuck to their videos, refused to go digital. And the story repeats, you know, it's the same for everyone else. We've seen, you know, companies such as this go, you know, leave the stock, the Nasdaqs and the S&P 500 and so on, and actually disappear completely as though they never existed. And how many times, I know, what's the rate of change in S&P 500, for example, or in even other indexes, stock market indexes, you know, keeps changing because people cannot actually cope with the level of change that the world requires today. So I think the concept of VUCA is really well understood now that we've explained. So volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And the need of business agility becomes more and more required. And so what is business agility for you? So now let's try to define that, and let's see what different people actually say. So some people say respond rapidly and flexibility to customer demand. So that's quite a good statement. Adapt and lead change in a productive and cost-effective way without compromising quality. Yeah, that sounds good as well. Continuously be at a competitive advantage. Adapt quickly to market changes internally and externally. So the reference for all these four are from the Agile Business Consortium. I've got another one, which is actually from the Business Agility Institute. And it's simply this, business agility is the speed and effectiveness with which an organization can learn, create insights, and respond to achieve desired outcomes for customers, colleagues, and the organization. So it's all about our customers, but it's also about our colleagues, so internal customers as well as external customers, and the organization as a whole. Yeah. So that's the definition where I actually found and I resonate the most with, because it makes sense and brings everything together. So learn, very important. The need to create learning organizations, and I'm going to talk about that quite a lot in this session. Create insights, because it's all about insights and experimentation, and the ability to respond, quickly respond, adapt, respond, and achieve the desired outcomes. Not in a long planning phase, but actually, very fast responses, because we need to be faster than the external world, and external world is changing very fast at the moment. And so put simply, it's about delivering better, sooner, safer, happier, and value. So we've got something called BVSSH, which is better, value, sooner, safer, happier, which is actually trademarked by Jonathan Smart. I don't know if you heard about him. It's actually my boss at Deloitte. And it's all about, better, improved quality of service delivered to the company and to members of the company. Sooner is about increased, specific metrics of performance, throughput, flow efficiency, really, really important. And I noticed Travis and Sandra, the name of your company, Flowana, and I think flow is all about flow at the end of the day, right? How fast we actually move from left to right to do in progress done. And that's true for every single thing that we put through the value stream. So flow efficiency and reduce lead time to deliver. Safer is about being continuous, doing just enough compliance, but continuous compliance and having stable systems. And then happier is about making sure that our colleagues, the workforce is happy, but as well as our customers. And you can't have happy customers if you don't have happy workforce. So they both come together. And of course, value is about business outcomes. How do we define the value that we need to deliver to our customers? And we have a proposal which is actually define business outcomes which are quarterly or less, so 3 months or less. So now it's time to actually define what an outcome is and the difference between outputs and outcome. And this picture from Henrik Nickbert says a lot. And I don't know if you know him. He's the Spotify, known as the Spotify guy. You must have heard about him. But what comes to mind when you see a picture like this? And that's the question. Anyone wants to unmute and answer this? We are a small group, so feel free to unmute and answer.
It's return on value as far as what you do. And so busy work doesn't get you anywhere if it doesn't really provide any value, depending on what value is. It could be money, it could be a ton of different things in gold bricks, right? Who cares if you put a bunch of mud on a truck if no one wants the mud? So that's my way of looking at Nieberg's way of showing this.
Yeah, exactly. And what else can you notice, Michael, from that picture? What else is so obvious into this?
That the one in the bottom actually can distinguish between the valuable bricks and the non-valuable bricks, while the one on the top doesn't have a clue.
Yeah, true. And if you notice, and something that some people actually notice, the guy at the bottom is actually
happier too.
He's smiling.
He's smiling.
He's actually smiling because he knows what the golden bricks are He knows how to distinguish, and it's not actually doing a factory, a feature factory, as we know many companies are doing, right? So many companies are working on hashtag number of features that they deliver in the release, rather than actually hashtag value deliver in the release. You know, so are we quantifying outputs, or are we actually quantifying the value that gets delivered? That's the real number. How many of us have seen transformations where the success of an agile transformation is measured by the number of teams that they can actually convert or transform from waterfall into agile? You know, how many people are quantifying, oh, we need to be agile by Christmas, or we need to, you know, the deadline is like 3 months and we're done by then. Actually, we all know that that never happens, right? So we never done, first of all. And secondly, you know, that's an output. It's just an hashtag. We actually need to understand what's the value of actually moving away from waterfall into agile. And when we start quantifying that in terms of outcomes, you know, are we increasing market share? Are we increasing our profit? You know, so many other things. Are we cutting costs? You know, what percentage? When we're becoming more specific about the outcomes that we're getting out of this transformation, then the entire thing gains a lot more value, right? So this is what the picture is actually talking about, and it's a powerful image of happy employees that know how to value the bricks they are bringing, rather than just, you know, just quantity and over output. So outputs over outcomes. There is a different video. There's a video from Jeff Patton's that talks about the difference between outputs, outcomes, and impact. So Jeff uses these three things, and the video is really good. Of course, here you don't get the message because it's too much on the screen. But if you take this link, I will make available the slides afterwards. But if you take this link, you can actually follow what Jeff is talking about a lot better. So basically what he says is that a lot of the startups, a lot of the companies that start always come up with many, huge amount of ideas. So everyone has got a good idea. And actually, you know, there are too many, and most of those ideas actually suck. And we can't actually tell which ones are good and which ones are suck. So we end up most startups end up doing too much, but actually, you know, they are all classified as outputs, and most startups actually fail within the first year. So I think there is a stat that says that only about 4% of all startups actually succeed and are able to survive past the first year of launching. Yeah, that's just amazing. And in the energy within those startups is tremendous. You know, everyone is happy, but I don't think they actually know that, you know, very likely not to survive past the first year because they don't get enough of funding past the first year. And so what Jeff is trying to explain here is that it is much more important to actually look into the things that please our customers. So, and that equals outcome. So outcome, things that change the behavior of our customers or provide the satisfaction to our customers and to our employees. So this is what Jeff is saying, outcome, and he's also making a distinction between outcome and impact. Yeah, and impact is calling things that change over a period of time. So it could be return on investment after, say, 3 months or 5 months or 6 months, increase in market share or brand awareness. And those equals impact, we actually call lagging indicators. And he also says these are lagging, and we call it lagging indicators. And outcomes, we call it leading indicators. So what is it that once you put it in production, so if you have an idea that is actually delivering better behavior or changing behavior of our customers, or actually making them happy or satisfying their requirements as a whole, what is it that when we put in production, we can immediately observe a change, and that we call an outcome or a leading indicator. What is it that after a period of time, say 3 months to 5 months or 6 months, we can actually measure an increase of return on investment or market share or brand awareness, or maybe even cost reduction. And that they call impact, and we call lagging indicators. Okay, so for us, outcomes will also cause impact, but obviously there's a difference between an outcome with a key result, which is a leading indicator, or an outcome with a key result, which is actually measured after a period of time, and that we call a lagging indicator. And so what he prefers is actually, rather than using the objectives, rather than using goals, he prefers things to be used as outcomes and impact. That's the message from Jeff. The video is really good. And also, the message overall is like, build less. You don't need to, build all the ideas that we have, because, focus on the ideas that are going to deliver the outcomes and deliver the impact. Focus on those instead of delivering everything that you think is useful, but you have not validated with your customers. Okay, any questions, any observations, any comments, anything that you want to bring up from your own experiences?
Yeah, I worked for a company called Magic Leap, and I think that they had and suffered from this problem, which was a focus in too many areas, right? Like they inevitably thought they could do too many things. Like you said, too many ideas, too many great ideas, and eventually, set themselves up for a lot of risk. And in the environment, it was okay, but when COVID hit, it became the situation was a little bit different. So there was a lot of risk exposed there, which is why the focus is very important.
Yep.
I also like what he says here about impact. So we know about outcome, but impact, that lagging indicator. That further reaching, right, that's a great target state. That's something I think that I've been missing.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit later as well. Okay, so the problem is that most organizations are actually making decisions based or related to outputs, and therefore, those decisions may not be directly related to the quality or impact of their services, like you just said, Travis. Examples of outputs are, for example, things like number of shoes sold in a shoe shop, or training classes delivered in a training facility, or meals served in a restaurant. And so outputs tell the story of what is produced. But, an outcome on the other side is actually quantifying, the level of performance or the market share that we're going to get out of delivering something. So what is actually, if we are doing an agile transformation, what is it that the agile transformation is going to give to the business? Just because people have become agile, how are they performing better? Are they actually delivering better products? Are they actually delivering faster, safer, better value for our customers? And that's, of course, needs to be measured, because otherwise there's no clear benefit why to move from waterfall to agile. The way we actually propose we write a business outcome is always in a hypothesis format, i.e. a bet. We are betting on something, we are experimenting with something. And it's all about experimenting, really. And here what we are trying to explain is that, and propose a template for the hypothesis. And this comes from what Barry O'Reilly as well defined. So everyone heard of Barry O'Reilly? Anyone? Is an author, so he's got a few books. He talks about a lot about business agility. And so what we're proposing here is that we propose this formula or template. So we believe that something for a persona, this is kind of optional for a specific persona. So we believe that doing something for someone will result in an outcome, and we'll know we are successful when a number of key results, one or more, are met. That's as simple as that. Yeah. So what does this mean? It means that we're not sure. It means it's an experiment. Oops, sorry. It means it's an experiment. It means that it needs to be validated. So when is it validated? Well, when these key results are met. And can it fail? Of course it can fail because it's an experiment. Yeah. So the companies that so our clients, wherever we take this around, many clients do not want people to fail, and that's number one. That's the number one reason why people are not challenged enough, or they don't go beyond their ability, or they don't innovate enough. It's because they're not allowed to fail. And if they're not allowed to fail, how is it that we're going to challenge, provide innovation and make sure that we beat the competition? And so a lot of our business outcomes are based on experiments, on things that we believe it's going to succeed. But there are chances where it's actually going to fail. And the sooner we know we're going to fail, the better, because we can stop and go for another bet. Yeah, so it's important that we do this in small environments, in small chunks. So basically what we're proposing for business outcomes is it shouldn't go beyond 3 months of change, of content. So as an example, let's see for a new bank account creation. So we believe that launching a new bank account for young COEs of startups, again, startups, will result in an increase of market share of small business managers. And we'll know we're successful when small business membership increases by 25%. So this is kind of a lagging indicator. And NPS for 50% of SP members increases from 8 to 9. So very specific indicators here, very specific key results. And so when do we know that this is successful? Well, when we achieve these values, we know it's successful. So after, say, 3 months, we still have not achieved those. So maybe our assumptions were wrong. Maybe we were being too ambitious. And maybe we would want to review our parent forecasts, because the creation of this new business bank account is not an individual business outcome. It's part of a portfolio of business outcomes. It's probably going to have a parent initiative who has got end of the year key result as well, and which for which this business outcome will contribute to. So we look into business outcomes, and I'm going to show you this later, as a parent-child relationship. And so delivering this is never going to be an isolated outcome. It's going to be part of a portfolio of new things that we want to deliver over a period of time.
Hey, Paulo, is it okay to ask questions, or should I hold
Sure.
off?
Yeah, go on, Michael.
Yeah, thanks. And so an observation, and I'm pretty well versed on this, that one of the things you'll find out, and I'm dealing with this in a big company right now, big consulting firm. I won't say the name of the company. People can look at my profile if they want to figure it out. On a center of excellence they're trying to do that's new, and it's mission, vision, and OKRs. And OKRs are their ways of doing, objectives, key results. It's popularized by Google. Google didn't have it. And one of the things I'm noticing here is you got a measurable way of saying whether this is successful for any sort of hypothesis behind. Typically, you'll see this in scaled agile as features and so on. The thing that I find with hypotheses and bets, as you call them, I've heard that term too, which I like. It really is bets, because you don't know if they're going to win until you get data to validate
Absolutely.
it. Is getting the data. A lot of times these companies, and in federal space too, and I've been doing a lot more work in the federal space, just getting the right metrics in place to measure it turns out to be a hugely difficult process, and they just want to go with what the tools give them. And so I hope that you're going to talk a bit about how do you go about getting those measurements, not just of how you measure it going forward, but how do you get a baseline? Or where you get the measurement from that? It's not easy to do, and that sometimes is the biggest battle. Yeah, you can come up with these, but in a lot of cases, they will get shot down because there are people out there that go, we don't know how to even get that. And that's the sad part about it. I'm being a little bit negative there, but I've seen it from many times.
Yeah, so a lot of times people are too ambitious. They create lots of key results. So I've seen cases where there are about 10 key results. Too ambitious, too much to put through, yeah? And other times these are not actually co-created, so they're not actually there is no alignment. And I've talked to people that have actually written something like this, but they've not discussed with anyone, and they proposed something like this, and then I talked to someone else, another stakeholder, and their understanding is completely different because there was no conversation, and so there was never an alignment, there was no co-creation of the outcome. So I would say, stick to few key results is important, so that you know that they can be measured. Otherwise, there's no point in creating this. And what I would say as well is that the big things that you want to deliver, they need to be bigger than this, and they need to be just not one thing. They need to be the parent of this, and the parent of this could be something that you want to achieve over 1 year. And of course, it's not a big bang. It's going to be achieved over and delivered by a number of business outcomes of 3 months or less. And so when you start breaking those big things into smaller things, and also start planning delivering them on a quarter basis, so quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, you take advantage of the learning of the first business outcomes that get delivered on quarter 1, and then you readjust the parent key results. Yeah. So I don't know if I've answered your question, but I'm just thinking that alignment is important. Understanding what the key results is really important, and we can't be too ambitious. And also, of course, use SMART, as someone put on the requirements on the agenda. Use SMART always. So it needs to be realistic. It needs to be time bound. It needs to be achievable and specific enough. Yeah.
Thanks, Paulo. You answered part of it, and I don't want to hijack the meeting any longer with that, except that with the co-creation and alignment, there's an agreement on the metrics actually being created and tracked. And if you get that as part of the alignment co-creation, whoever and whatever groups are going to be doing that they can make it happen, then you are in tip-top shape and really have a great way. That by the way, Amazon, I grabbed from the book of Amazon a lot. They have their narratives. They don't do presentations, and they do their press releases of products as if they've already been released right at the beginning before they even start making it. And then they do forcing functions, which are the metrics they live and die by before they even start putting their teams together that will actually be delivering on it. People will be involved in all of that. And then that's when they actually start delivering once they have the metrics in place and have them measured. So as long as you got that, you're golden. It's just hard getting there sometimes in a lot of real companies.
Agreed. The next slide actually talks about an exercise that I usually use to train people on difference between outcomes and outputs. And we're not going to do it here because it's a virtual session, but I think you are going to enjoy this, and feel free to take it away and use it. So Michael, you might want to take this and use it within your teams to actually define, what's an outcome, what's an output. So, it's called Draw a Beautiful Summer Meadow with, and you've got 2 groups of people. Okay, so you define the first group and you say, okay, actually the brief for the first group is draw a beautiful summer meadow with blue and red flowers in green grass, some cows and birds under a shining sun. And of course, this is inspired on Vincent van Gogh, 1883 summer meadow picture or painting. Yeah, it's a famous painting from Van Gogh. And so on the group 2, you give the same 5 minutes, so they don't know each other's brief, but you actually define what the beautiful summer meadow should have. Yeah, so it's 10 blue flowers with 5 petals each. Imagine the detail. 5 blue flowers with 6 petals each. 13 red flowers. You get the gist, right? So it's a very detailed checklist of things that they need to deliver. So now you've got 2 groups, one on each table, each on different tables. Obviously, they can't see each other, and you give them 5 minutes to complete this activity. I've got some photographs to show what actually happens typically. So as you can see here, what do you think this team is doing on the left side?
They're following the project plan. Oh, I mean checklist.
Yeah, they're following the checklist. It's so obvious, isn't it? Because look at this, they're ticking against the box, and they are working, multitasking. and they are actually, painting or drawing the cows, the petals, the flowers, whatever, the grass.
Yeah. They
And
distributed the tasks to
they
see
did.
how both of them are working at the same time.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they just said, okay, we've got 5 minutes. Let's get on and deliver everything that we've been asked to deliver. And what is this group focusing on the right?
It looks like they're trying to repeat the actual picture because they have the laptop with maybe.
Oh, no, this is a facilitator. Actually, it's my
Oh,
colleague.
okay.
She's the facilitator.
I
She's
thought
not
maybe
part of
they
the
were
group.
she was telling them what to do.
Yeah, no. She's just watching.
Seems like they're collaborating, they're sharing, they're
Yeah.
brainstorming.
They're
And they're
brainstorming. Yeah,
They
they don't have
are.
much on the paper though.
They're being
Well,
creative.
yeah, it looks like they don't have much in the paper. They do, but actually they are talking about what would a nice, beautiful summer meadow look like. Yeah, that's the question that this lady is coming up. What shall we put? Okay, so shall we put some flowers here? Shall we put the sun? Shall we put like some cows? And what does it look like? What we want to put in this painting? And they are actually collaborating. They are, everyone is giving an opinion, and there is one person that is actually drawing. So so that's
like
what
mob
they're doing.
programming.
Yeah, pair programming. Yeah. So this is the result that we get. And again, what do you think is the left one, and what do you think is the right one? So the left one. Let's start with the left one. What do you think? Is it the checklist or is it the outcome?
The outcome.
Yep,
The outcome. I
absolutely.
think that's group one. Yeah.
And what's the right one?
Checklist.
The checklist. Yeah,
Yeah,
typically. So you can see you've got green cows, you've got red. So one person painted this or drew this, the other did this, the other did,
Oh my
and
gosh.
yeah, and you can repeat this exercise as many times as you want, and there is no one actually checking, does this actually make any sense? We're going to have red flowers here, we're going to have blue flowers here. They're not mixed up, they're not coordinated, it doesn't look right. This cow is almost over, turned upside down. And I actually saw cows upside down once because they were sitting around a curved table, and that's what they did. And so the quality goes down because it's a checklist. It's an output type of delivery. And here there is an outcome because they are actually matching the outcome. And this, you can repeat this as many times as you want. You always get the same results. Yeah. So here you see groups focusing on outputs. These are as many, I've done this many times, and every time I do it, it's just amazing. And people really get it after you do that. So it's something for you to think about if you want to run. Obviously, the quality is not always the same. Like for example, this has got only one cow because it didn't say how many, right? This has got two, but here, it's just like quantity. Someone should actually ask, do we really need to do this? Does it make any sense? What are we trying to deliver? This is what this group should have asked in the first place. Can we understand what's the goal? What we're trying to achieve out of this? But they didn't. They just stuck to the brief and then just in 5 minutes deliver this stuff. Okay, so is this a good exercise that you can take, you think?
Oh,
Did
yeah.
anyone do this before? Did anyone see this before?
Nope.
No.
Has
Okay.
nothing to do with pizzas and kanban.
Yeah. Okay, great. So change is messy, and it's even tougher if people are not focused on the same outcome. And this is what I was talking about to Michael, is actually the alignment and the conversation and the co-creation. I could not emphasize more on co-creation is really important for OKRs, because you write one thing and the other person will misinterpret and will think something completely different. Yeah. So that alignment is really important when defining an OKR. And OKR for me is an outcome key result. And now we're talking about the improvement kata, and based on Toyota, this number one step is actually, think about this as our North Star. What is it that we're trying to achieve after a period of many periods of experimentation, right? So that's our North Star. That's our endpoint, if there is something called an endpoint, by the way. So it's basically what we want to achieve at the end of the year. Let's say end of the year. I won't say in 5 years or whatever, but let's just say end of the year. And then there are many things that we want to run up until then, but we need to grasp what our current condition is and establish what our next condition is. So the target condition, not the final, not the North Star, but actually just the one that can be achieved within maybe 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, yeah, or whatever period of time we are comfortable with, maybe 1 week even. Yeah. And then of course, in order to move from the current condition into the next target condition, there is a sequence of experiments. Some will fail, some will bring us forward, some will bring us back. Some will take us forward, some will take us back. And we need to learn, and it's a learning experience. And so if we talk about bets, some will fail, some will succeed, and we will learn. And when we reach the next target condition, the same thing happens again. It's a loop. That's why it's a kata. In martial arts, a kata is like a repetition, right? So you repeat until you reach the next target condition. And sometimes you'll fail, sometimes you succeed, and sometimes you learn, or most of the times you learn, really. And so this is another picture to explain exactly that. So you are in the current condition, and this is an unpredictable zone, gray zone. So we can only see a little bit forward. So we try one outcome, then we try another one, and then we try another one, and there's lots of obstacles on the way. So as I said, it's the Toyota Kata practice guide. This is taken from there. Any questions so far? Good. So in terms of business outcomes, let's talk about our recommendation, which is 3 months or less for a business outcome. And we always follow the North Star being our initiative, a parent of our business outcomes. So we can talk about, imagine reduction of carbon footprint by 30% to be achieved in 1 year. Yeah, so that's our North Star. Reduction of carbon footprint by 30%. And imagine it's a massive organization, let's say Morgan Stanley or JP Morgan or whatever, massive bank globally. How are they going to achieve that? Well, 30% carbon footprint reduction over 1 year. And I could think of a number of business outcomes quarterly. And typically we've already done something like that, actually, exactly that, carbon footprint reduction over a period of time, maybe 3 years. And what they did in another bank, it's not JP Morgan, it's not Morgan Stanley, it's a British bank actually. I won't mention the name, but you probably will know, with offices in America as well. What they've done is actually they start, so that's the initiative, 3 years initiative, reduction of carbon footprint, and they kept it really secret, yeah, confidential, no one knew about it. And their business outcomes is like cutting one building at a time. So allowing people to work from home and reducing the number of leases that they had in their offices. So first thing they did is stopped a development center in Singapore. And then they cut a development center in one of the buildings in New York. And then they cut in London. They had 4 massive towers, and they reduced one first, and then they reduced the next one. And so with each quarter, they were doing something. They were starting to do something. Overall, it was a reduction carbon footprint of 30%. So that was not achieved as a big bang. That was achieved on a quarterly basis, one building at a time, one location at a time. And that just is a good example of how these things can be achieved. So first and foremost, let's work backwards. We start off who benefits and how. This is our customers. Who are our customers? How will they benefit out of this? So these are the personas. And then let's look into indicators. And sometimes we start with leading indicators. So when we put this live, we could aim to get 5K visits on the microsite, or we could aim to get 1K downloads of the app. So this is our leading indicators. What is it that once we deliver live, we get immediate feedback? Yeah. And then we go into a little bit more. So we go into lagging indicators here. But here it's like the template that I was talking about earlier. So due to one insight, whatever this insight, whatever we learned with research or whatever the competition has put in, whatever triggers that transformation or that change that we need to do. So we believe that this bet, whatever it is that we need to deliver, yeah, will result in this outcome, and we'll know we're successful when the key results are met. So here is another example. Due to fewer branch visits for a bank, So banks are suffering of fewer branch visits. People are not visiting the branch anymore because they can do a lot of stuff online these days. So we believe that one of the reasons they need to visit the branch is when they need to provide ID verification for a finance application, for example. But what this outcome is all about is actually delighting our customers and maintaining our market share, even using online. So what we're trying to deliver is a non-online ID verification platform. So due to fewer branch visits, we believe that delivering or piloting an online ID verification will result in continue to delight our customers and maintaining our market share. And we need to do this because the competition is doing it, because there are ideas out there that are creating online ID verification platforms. And so we as a bank, in order to maintain market share, we need to deliver this. And so that's what we need to deliver. That's the outcome. And we'll know when we're successful when a certain number of leading indicators are met and lagging indicators will be met. So one of the lagging indicators will be to maintain the same market share, or if we have 30% of market share, we want to maintain that even after 1 year. We don't want to lose anyone to another bank. Okay, so that's an example, and more examples of lagging indicators are these on the left. So improve NPS from 6 to 8, enable 2% more first-time home buyers to own a property, increase market share from 55% to 65%, increase diversity by 5%. All this is very specific, measurable, realistic, and usually time bound. So if lag indicators, we are hoping to see this in less than a year. Yeah. Any questions on this?
Nope, this is awesome.
Great.
I like that.
Okay.
I like that format.
And a little bit of a difference between leading and lagging indicators. So again, just emphasizing on that, leading indicators are answering the question, are we there yet? When do we know that our online platform that we just released is actually working? Well, we'll know when we get our first online application submitted. Yeah, simple as that. That's a leading indicator. Number of hits on the website, number of people that actually submitted an application successful. That's a leading indicator. It's working. We know we're there. What is then the lagging indicator? So that's always backwards facing. It's the mirror, the back mirror on your car. And if you put yourself 1 year from now, what is it that you want to achieve from this outcome? So it could be the things that you've seen in the previous slide, 30% increase of market share. And when we reach that, did we achieve it or not? Yeah. Or did the children business outcomes of this initiative, did they all achieve that, or maybe overachieved, or maybe underachieved? What are the expectations for each one of the children business outcomes, that contribute to the parent initiative, the 1 year parent initiative? And here are the drivers. So now we're going to talk about strategy alignment and the drivers for an outcome-based lean portfolio management. So when you talk about big companies and they've got portfolio managers, lots and lots of different projects running, and a CPMO or PMO office, project management office, managing the whole thing. How can we actually, first of all, make the whole management of that office more efficient and actually move away from managing projects into value creation? And some of the things that we advocate is actually, making sure that there is a link between the execution and the strategy. And what we've seen in most of our clients is that CIOs and CEOs actually change faster than their strategy can actually be delivered. So CIOs or CEOs change every 3 years, mostly. Yeah, they've survived, they managed to survive by 3 years. And they never managed to actually link their strategy to the work that the teams are delivering at a ground level, okay? And because there is inability of doing that, their strategy never gets delivered. And within 3 years, they get replaced by someone else. and the strategy starts all over again, new strategy, because a new CIO will always bring new stuff, new teams, new senior leadership, and so on and so forth. And so we keep seeing companies that fail to deliver their strategy, or fail to deliver their strategy within the period of time that the CIOs are in place. And so some of the questions that we're trying to answer is, does the CEO have enough information to make investment decisions? Does he actually know, or he or she know, if we are working on the right things? Does the CEO know when the strategic outcomes are going to be delivered? And in majority of the cases, they don't know, because there is no link. And all the other questions are in the same type of ideas. And also from a team perspective, do we know if what the work we're doing as a developer is, if I am a developer, do I actually understand why I'm doing this? Am I contributing to the success of the company in terms of delivering the strategy? Or am I working for things that no one is going to use? Am I actually working for something that the company thinks is important and is being valued and is part of the strategy? Or I am just doing what customer ABC wants? Yeah. Do I have a license to change? Do I have a license to work and deliver something that is going to move my company from where they are, the current situation, into the next target condition? That's really important. And what we're going to suggest is like a way of actually linking strategy to execution. And what we're trying to define, and by the way, we're not wedded to these terms. You can choose whatever terms you want. So the client that I'm working at the moment is using these terms. It's their definition, it's not ours. But all we're doing is that look into the top level portfolio item, the one that is multi-year, the one that does not have a deadline. Yeah, the one that is actually going to take many years to deliver. We don't know when. These are the things that, for example, if it is an automobile company, it could be electric vehicles. And no one knows when electric vehicles is going to be done. So there is no deadline, there is no end date. For Tesla, for example, if it is Tesla, their electrification as a strategic theme has no end at the moment, right? We don't know. It could be take 10 years, it could be 20 years, it could be less. We don't know. So anyway, this is the top level. And then that top level is going to be, obviously, on top of all this is the vision of the company. I'm not even going to mention that. But anyway, for a strategic theme, imagine this is electrification or electric vehicles. That is going to be delivered by a number of organization outcomes, or whatever name you want to give. But what we're suggesting is that these things are smaller than that. And typically, we recommend less than 3 years. Yeah. So there is clearly a parent-child relationship within this. And then each one of these organization outcomes are going to be delivered by a smaller thing, which we call initiatives, which are 1 year or less. Again, 3 years is too big. That's why we propose that they get delivered by a number of initiatives, one or more, of 12 months or less. And even 1 year is too big, and that's why we propose that they get delivered by business outcomes, which are 3 months or less. Yeah, and then it comes into the team items that we all familiar with as a team member. You know, the features or the epics in Jira, or features in whatever other platform that you use, the user stories and the tasks. And of course, also there are recommendations, and I'm sure Travis and being Kanban, Travis and Sandra being Kanban trainers, they will know that, you know, we want to see flow. And the reason why we recommend this is less than a day is because we want to see flow from left to right, and we want to see things changing when you do your stand-ups. And the recommendation is 8 hours or less for a task, obviously, because tasks are individual, right? Stories are team assigned to a team, and when you do your stand-up every day, or when you do your walk the board, you want to see those stories moving. So that you want to see flow in all these things. You want to see flow in the tasks, you want to see flow in the stories, you want to see flow in the features, and that's why features should be 1 month or less. And so features should not be seen as categories of stuff. You know, in Jira we use epics, and how many of you actually try to put a deadline for your epics in Jira if you use Jira? Anyone?
Yeah, we try.
Okay, so you treat as a minimum viable product or a market feature, minimum marketable feature, right?
Minimum marketable feature, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's great. Well done, Victoria. Not everyone is doing that, and people just leave your epics as buckets or categories of stuff that keep being added with things, and so there is no flow in your epics because they don't have a plan start date and a plan end date, and therefore it's very difficult to actually see flow on features. And so
Yeah.
what we're proposing is try to aim for features to be less than a month. So it's obviously bigger than a sprint. A sprint typically being 2 weeks, if in average in most organizations are using 2 week sprints or 2 weeks cadence for Kanban. And we are recommending features to be less than 1 month because of the flow that we want to see. And then all this gets linked together, right? So the features are here, they get linked to a business outcome because there is a parent-child relationship here. So a feature cannot be orphan, it needs to have a parent. A story cannot be orphan, it needs to have a parent, which is a feature. So tasks have a parent, which is a story, and can only have one parent, by the way, cannot have more than one. A story has a parent, which is a feature has a parent, which is a business outcome, and you get the gist. So everything is a parent-child relationship. That's why there is a link from top down. And then there are two schools of thought. One is that the strategy actually drives everything. So in other words, there is an owner for a strategic theme, there is an owner for organization outcome, an initiative. And then if there is an owner for an initiative, they can say, well, you can only have business outcomes that can link to this initiative. You cannot just come up with your own version of business outcomes. And there's another school of thought that says, actually, we've got some top down, but we also want to give some autonomy to the business to create their own business outcomes and come up with their own ideas. And if we have an initiative that is already in existence, we link to that, otherwise we'll create another initiative. So there's a little bit of allowed innovation or autonomy required in that case, but it becomes a little bit more chaotic. But in some instances, it works. So just like summarize, we've got stories, features or epics, business outcomes, initiatives, organization outcomes, and strategic themes. And this is how they all link together. Yeah. You can do this over Jira if you want, but I've used Rally a lot better. So if you know Rally allows you to map this and bring an helicopter view that allows to see for your strategic theme who is working on this, who is working on that, when is it going to be delivered, when is the initiative going to be delivered, what's the percentage complete in terms of 1 year delivery. I'll skip that. So here we've got what we also recommend. So the horizontals we see here are your long-lived products or services. So the teams sit in a long-lived structure, which is what you've got here on the horizontal. What you've got in your verticals are your programs of change. So it is your initiatives, 12 months, or your organization outcomes, 3 years, or your strategic themes, multi-year. And in the intersection, you've got the business outcomes because someone needs to deliver the business outcomes. So the teams, the teams within each product or service will be then asked to deliver the business outcomes. So they will own the business outcomes. And obviously they will break it down into features and stories, and they will deliver that within the quarters. So you've got quarter one, quarter two, you could have quarter three, quarter four, and so on and so forth. And so this is a visualization. It's a way of visualizing what you're going to deliver for what initiative, when, and who. Yeah, so it's answering what the business outcome is. Obviously, this will have, if we're using Rally, for example, you could actually expand this and have a look of what is this business outcome all about. Is it reduction of costs, or is it increase of market share? What is it? And who is going to be delivered is answered by whatever is on the left. And when is it going to be delivered? Well, it's quarter one. That's what we see here. And what is coming on quarter two? Well, that's another two here. So this is what these teams are working on. So one outcome for initiative A, another outcome for initiative B, and nothing yet for this other. So, nothing there. So this is how you visualize what the teams are working on, for what initiatives, for what business outcomes, and when they're going to get delivered. And there's some basic rules. So we start small, we experiment the rule of one experiment, one team, one location. When we're starting with these things, we start small. We don't deliver like a big bang. Focus on flow, visualize, stabilize, optimize, limit WIP, stop starting, start finishing. So SSSF, which I'm sure you all know. And of course, measure, better, value, sooner, safer, happier. Those becomes your metrics, those that thing that I had showed in the beginning. How we are delivering better value or not? Those are the business outcomes. Are we being safer, sooner? Do we deliver? We're measuring lead time, cycle time, throughput, flow efficiency, and so on and so forth. Yeah. These are some of the benefits of focusing on long-lived business products, which are the horizontals. So all this stuff, so reduced risk definitely, because we are moving away from projects into products, which are our horizontals, and actually collaborating a lot more with business. And we also use something like this, which is our rolling wave planning. So for each quarter, so this is where we are at the moment, and we know what we've delivered, what's done, and this is where we are in quarter one. Imagine this is quarter one now, and this is what we are working on. What comes next, we've got medium confidence about that. What comes one quarter later, low confidence, and quarter four, we had no idea. But it looks like it is this. It's okay to plan, but we are conscious that these plans can actually change. Yeah, market conditions will require things to change. And what we're doing on a quarterly basis is actually learning. Learning loops. This is all about our daily, so different types of learning loops, because we want to move into a learning organization. Obviously, what we're suggesting is obviously with your stand-ups or your coordination type of events, we are having a daily learning. So we're learning, the team is learning. Your weekly or cadence, whatever cadence you use for your Kanban or for your Scrum, you're going to have a weekly learning loop. Sorry. And then monthly, of course, you may have features delivered. Quarterly is your outcomes and key results. Yearly is the top level, the parent of an outcome, which is your organization outcome, which is the bringing together of the quarterly outcomes with lagging indicators. And then at the top level, we've got the multi-year strategic theme. So you are actually learning with every single one of these portfolio items. Okay, so finished. We've got 10 minutes. I think it's Q&A.
Thank you, Paulo. I actually have a question. So, so in a startup company that just they're trying to be agile, so they're already agile in many ways. Obviously, still have a long way to go, but they're too focused on projects. So, what do you suggest I should, or how do I get them to start thinking? Obviously they're not going to transition right from projects into outcomes and we got OKRs done tomorrow, right? But what would be a good starting point and possible next steps, or what should be kind of the
I would, okay, so I had some slides to talk exactly about that, but I had to cut them, but I'll just answer you. So because we've gone through the same experience with many clients, and I would just ask, what is it in a project that you actually know you're going to use? Because remember, what happens with a project? Typically it's a 12-month project. What we see is that in the beginning, the clients don't even know what they want, because they always need something. Just they need to see something in order to actually understand what they actually want. Second is they're scared of missing something, so they end up writing requirements that include every single thing they can think of. Yeah. And the first thing I would say is that when you look into a project and in a requirement phase, I would ask the business, what is it that we can actually deliver to you in the next month or maybe in the next quarter? What do you think you want to see first? And now we've taken them away from a big bang delivery, which will take maybe 12 months, into something that we can deliver in 3 months. And it might not be everything that they want, but it's the thing that they value the most. So the question to ask them is, in this project, what is it that you value the most?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and try to deliver that first. It might not take 3 months, it might take 6 months. That's okay. Let's start with 6 months, because moving away from 12 months into 6 months, it's already a good change. So let's not stick to a quarterly delivery if the business is not ready to accept that. And they might say, okay, I know 3 months, there's no way we can deliver what we want in 3 months. I said, well, okay, let's go for 6 months then. Let's find a common term and let's go for 6 months. What is it that you'd like to see first? And then we deliver that, and we ask for feedback and see what else could come in the next 3 months or in the next 6 months. And so what we are trying to do is actually move away from the big bang without telling them. And we're trying to say, okay, are you sure you still need this? Because in your requirement list, all this is there, but actually we think this will be enough for you. And then just measure the feedback. I'm not saying that it will be a lot different, but at least we are reducing the risk by delivering faster. And we are also probably managing their expectations a lot better.
Thank you.
So that's just the starting point of the conversation, but it's hard.
So you've experienced that often, I'm sure, with your customers.
Yeah, but most projects have got a lot of the stuff that is never going to be used. Yeah, and we need to prove that. Because, yeah, go on, Michael.
That's great context, and Paulo, you really hit it on the head. In that, first off, I've got a very strong PMO background, and I'm and Sandra and Travis know this. I'm a SAFE instructor. I've actually taught the LPM class, and I saw a lot of parallels, but a lot of differences with the SAFE LPM training. Luke Coleman has been updating that with 5.01. I haven't looked at the latest version of it, but it's been a bit of a kitchen sink with it. As long as the client is willing to have those conversations about a roadmap and about the direction they want to go and when they want it, and not count everything as top priority, those are the times when you have them in the room to really start going through, let's co-create, using that great word, together on with them to come up with releases that they want. I just finished with a client going through that where I worked myself out of a job. And at first they were trying to go back to project where they started off, we're not delivering anything until it's all done. And that's it. And it took a while. And they said, well, okay, well, can we have a mini release just to get feedback from the users? No, we are the users. I've been in this industry for 30 years. I don't see any reason to have anyone else involved. So when we got through talking with that, because we had a situation where we started talking through one area and they didn't know everything about it. And they went to other users and the other users said, what the hell are you doing with that? And they went, oh, we need to rethink this whole thing. Yeah, we need to get more feedback. Well, let's get it out there. So let's have an early release. And so they had to learn on their own. And sometimes you got to let the kid put their finger in the light socket and go, ouch, that hurt. And other times you can let them know by saying, this is the way to do it. Here's co-creation.
Yeah, absolutely. So allow them to fail and actually move into that partnership where you're supporting the fail. You're making the fail safe.
Right.
Yeah?
And you don't go wagging your finger at them saying, I told you it was going to happen. You're more like, I see we've got a problem. Here's how we can help. Now, you ready to try? And then they go, yes. And that's how we got past it. It took, it's one atomic micro change at a time, one step at a time. But then it happens, and that 1% difference over time makes a world of change. And now they're having their first release, and I've left the picture because the team's got it and everything else. They're doing it in October, and they're almost ready to release it now, and it's just awesome. So you can get there. It depends on the people involved, but they got to have their share of skid marks to really begin to start understanding projects have their problems as well.
Yeah, I completely follow what you say, Michael, because we're moving away from a consultancy mindset into a coaching mindset where you actually work in partnership. and you support your client, but you cannot actually dictate what happens, because if you dictate what happens, you might be wrong as well. So if you walk into an engagement and start dictating terms, most of the times you will fail. And so it's about reaching that compromise and balance, and actually manage that relationship as a partnership. Yeah, and you work with them and you offer options.
I'll offer options, and part of it is really empathizing and understanding that client. So Sandra, if you have any specifics on that client that are relevant, think about how to approach those specifics. You might even want to give one the group here and have us co-respond on what we would think would be the best based on that personality and our experience, right? So the more detail you give on here's what that person actually does, the more chances we can come up with something that might work.
Yeah, exactly. And just to pick up on what Sandra said, we may not be able to move into 3 months delivery. You might not be able to move straight away into a quarterly delivery. But let's compromise and let's say, okay, let's see 6 months. Are you not happy with that? Okay, let's see 9 months, because 9 months is still better than 12, right?
That's right.
Let's see, let's see what they agree with and see how it goes. Good. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm curious, just since we have an audience and we've got some people with, sounds like some experience with OKRs in large organizations, right? Organization I was working in was somewhat small, and we tried to expand OKRs across multiple organizations, multiple teams. And I think one way that they all tried to link together the OKRs was via the key result. Like, I think everybody picked one key result and daisy chained it throughout the organization, right? What's a perspective on that? There were some parts of that just felt wrong. And I think there was a lack of creativity, and somebody everything was it was just an easy way for people to understand what to do. What do you do to prevent people from doing that? Or, is that actually a good thing to do?
I think, I think co-creation is a way of stopping that. So I couldn't emphasize more on co-creation. So those people who actually write the OKRs and they write it individually and they expect the organization to follow it without actually co-creating it, it's going to be very difficult for people not to misinterpret them. Yeah. And the expectations are completely different. So when you start a session, you might have it's just like writing a story, right? We all know that the three amigos write a story, and they ask questions, and they ask, the product owner should not write the story. The story should be co-created, and with an OKR, it's the same, but in a different level, because it's a much bigger thing, much bigger piece. But defining those key results and as leading and lagging is extremely important, and making sure they're smart. It's extremely important.
Okay.
That's interesting to bring up Three Amigos. I'd be surprised if everybody on this meeting knows Three Amigos. Does anyone not know what Three Amigos is, other than a movie of Chevy Chase, Steve Martin, and Martin Short? Okay.
Yeah, so funny. We were actually mentioning that, and I think I see Jamie in participating. Some people are actually thinking of like that may be cultural appropriation, calling that the Three Amigos.
Yeah.
I don't know if Jamie's there.
That was me.
I saw her post the other day, and it was like never occurred to me, and I was like, oh my God, yes.
Well,
these are sensitive times.
So, yeah, everything, right?
A little story behind this. The funny thing, I just found this out like last week, that apparently the guy who created the term Three Amigos, his name is Bob Payne. He's from LifeSpeed in Washington, D.C. area as an agile coach. He's pretty well known in the community. And he said he didn't even like it, that it got stuck, and he went, wait a minute, why did I even do that? It just was one of those terms that, you got the product owner, business analyst, you got the lead developer, and you got the Q quality engineer, quality assurance tester, right? And and all three of them are the Three Amigos. He goes, it's more than them, though. You got to get the whole team. It's multiple amigos, multiple people. You choose whatever word choice you want to. It's multiple people. It's not Three Amigos. But it has helped with some cases where I've used it where's the QA? And it's like, oh, Well, we could talk about three amigos. You need at least have QA. Bring them in at the beginning. Yes, at the beginning.
Yeah, I think it's related to Scrum though, because Scrum only has three roles, right? So
Yeah,
Scrum
but there
has
are
got
times when
developer as whole.
I think there are times when it's appropriate even to have stakeholder input into
Yeah.
such a thing.
Yeah.
And so we've kind of gone away from calling it, three amigos, obviously for offensive reasons and just to be more sensitive to cultural appropriation, but also to better describe what it is. And so we're calling it mini refinement. Some people call it a story kickoff huddle.
Yeah.
Something like this.
Yeah, I had one today. It's a story writing session, and we had the whole team in there, the core team.
Okay, those are good alternatives.
Yeah, I like those because you're right. Those are descriptive terms, and Michael, you're right. It usually does include more people. By even giving it a number, maybe you're leaving some people out, like the stakeholder we talked about.
That's right.
Should be involved in that.
Yep. What? The stakeholder's not an amigo? What?
No, not an amigo. Funny. So great. No, this was great value.
Absolutely.
And Paulo, you'll be providing us this slide, so we'll share it with everyone.
Yeah, I can send them to you, and then you can share in a meetup.
Yeah, this was great. So the charts that you had from the Leap portfolio, is that from Riley? Is that visuals from Riley? Or
which one?
If you go back.
This one?
Yeah, like this one. Yes, this is great.
No, this is ours. This is Deloitte's.
Oh, do you have a template?
Yeah, I was just thinking. I was like, I want to talk to, and
I need to create something like this, and I was thinking of how to do it, and this is great. I mean, obviously,
it's really easy to do.
Yeah, it's very easy to do. Exactly. So
yeah,
and these are like transparent boxes. Really, if you put transparency on the thing.
Okay.
Just have Travis do it in Miro. It'll take him 5 minutes.
Yeah.
he probably already started. No.
Yeah, it's already happened.
So
great.
I've got a question actually, Travis and Sandra. How does it look like from a Kanban point of view? You guys are Kanban trainers. How does this look like? The whole idea of portfolio management, lean portfolio management, that is. How does it look like from a Kanban training point of view?
Yeah, well, it really falls in line with what they're trying to teach, because they're trying to teach like these not only like the lean practices, right, but the different levels, the different lenses of where you would want to see these things. And so I think that this falls in and aligns with the Kanban maturity model as well, because you have like the idea of the flow. We hear of the scrum of scrums, right? Like, but now they've added this what they call a flow review, which is basically this meeting between different services, which is a meeting of managers and portfolio managers that manage different initiatives and how those all tie together.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
That actually tied to a question I was going to refrain from, but I look at these as ones when I tie it to my LPM training and teaching in SAFe, to be when you've started already with a given backlog in the portfolio. They have steps, and I would expect you would too, with any ideas welcome, but you funnel through those, you review through them, you analyze them, you validate whether you even want to do them. And then once they get into the gate, that's when they fall into here. So I put a link in the chat here just to go over. If you scroll down a little, you can see the other lanes that they include at the portfolio level for SAFe, going through vetting the actual initiatives and your epics, etc., before they even get to a point where you commit to doing them any quarters.
All right, yeah. Don't know where to get the chat. I can't see the chat on mine, but anyway, doesn't matter. I like what you say about SAFe, and I'm actually as SPC as well. But for me, it's like hashtag all scale frameworks, and get really what the client needs. And in some cases, I've actually used a mix of SAFe and less, and even discipline agile as well. in order to deliver.
I mean, really, it's about delivering value to your customer.
Exactly.
And how can you get
Yeah.
there? And it
Yeah.
really depends on your product and how much is it complex. So, you know, if you're looking at the Kinevin framework, you know, are we in that complexity area? Then maybe Scrum is appropriate, but maybe there are less unknowns, and Kanban is certainly better for that. And so I think it just depends. Your framework doesn't really matter. The idea is that you're delivering value. That's
Absolutely.
the real focus.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, Jamie. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I see, I mean, if you were to even ask David Anderson, regardless, like Jamie said, without calling it Kanban or whatnot, it's all about, is your customer happy? Are you delivering value? It's all about delivery and happiness, right? So what you're using, they don't care. They're like, do you use Scrum to deliver this? Do you use, the customer
And
doesn't
I would
care.
add the ability to adapt to change quickly and get
Yes.
to market sooner.
Very much.
Yep.
Which
Yes.
actually means leveraging other methodologies and doing things differently based on
Right.
that moment
Mhm.
and the delivery expectation. Absolutely.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, because that's basically a methodology, right? It's not a framework. It's not a path. It's a methodology. It's a bag of tools that we use to fix particular challenges.
Yep. The good old toolbox.
Mm-hmm.
Very well. Well,
This
thank you.
is
This
awesome.
was great. Great. Thank you so much, Paula. Thank you, everyone, for
It was a
attending.
pleasure, and great to know all of you. Yeah, that was very, very nice audience. Lots of questions.
Yeah. Will you
Patience.
be making the recording available? Because there was some very good interaction and conversation.
Yes, yes. We'll send the recording as well.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome. Good.
Excellent.
I'm one of those people that you have to listen to it a couple of times to see if I missed anything, because I'm a note taker too. So
yeah, and you pick up things the second, third time. I mean, I
Absolutely.
saw this presentation and when Paula did it maybe a month ago or so, and today I picked up new things that I didn't. So
Yeah,
Oh,
I
awesome.
tried to slow down a bit because the other one was like very fast paced.
yes,
And it was like double of the content of this. So yeah, slow down so that you can digest a lot better.
Great job. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks
thank you
again.
so much, everyone. Nice to meet you all.
Yes. Same here.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.